The cost of IT in business can be staggering. From hardware and software expenses to services like internet and phone, you don't need to spend a fortune on IT to succeed. If your organization spends more than $500 monthly on any service, or you're considering signing a long-term contract, IT Enabled can help you manage your technology and minimize your costs. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. IT Enabled, we're here to help.
Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
We have tried to get you on for a while, and it just seems like we never could all coordinate our calendars, so we're thrilled to have you here.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Anytime I get to talk about the zoo is a good day.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners? We've got a lot of people that know that there's a new zoo director, but don't know a lot about you, so
sure.
talk
So
about your background.
my name is Ryan Gulker. I've been the zoo director for a year and 9 days, I think. I came from a zoo in Wichita, Kansas. I'm sort of from Kansas. I worked at a couple of different zoos in Kansas, most recently in Wichita, Kansas. But I did work at the San Antonio Zoo for several years, and I worked at a zoo in Duluth, Minnesota. So kind of moved around the country a little bit in the center part of the country, refining my skill set over the years, and wound up here.
Did you always know you wanted to work at the zoo?
Well, when I was in high school and when I started college, I wanted to be a wildlife biologist.
Okay.
And when I started school, I quickly realized that I wasn't probably geared to that. I had this vision of, you remember the old show Wild Kingdom, where Marlon Perkins was doing all these things in the wild, and I thought that's what a wildlife biologist did. Well, it took me about a year and a half or just to figure out that's not what a wildlife biologist does. And I remember my advisor asked me if I wanted to go to graduate school, and I was pretty sure I didn't want to go to graduate school. So I was kind of like, what do I do with myself? I'm not sure. And my mammalogy professor at Kansas State University, is where I went to college, he took us to our local zoo because he wanted to show us or get us some, expose us to some mammal species that were not indigenous to North America. He thought that would be interesting for us. And while we were there, the director of education was giving us a tour, and he started talking about internships and volunteer programs and about what a zoo is, a modern zoo is really about. It's about conservation and education, recreation, and entertainment for the local community. All the things that I felt were sort of important to me and my future. And so I signed up for their internship program through college and got my first job the day after I graduated from college in a zoo. So
That's fantastic.
It's all history since then.
I love that.
So how's year one been? So you've been here you said a year and 9 days. I'm a
Yeah.
little worried that you're counting the days.
No, it was, I just remember, I looked at the calendar. It was February, whatever it was. And so, no, it's been very interesting. I've, come to understand what Deep East Texas is. I'll start with that. It's very different than San Antonio, which is where I lived in Texas before. So my impressions are that the zoo has a very beautiful campus. It has a great potential. We can really do some interesting things there. The city administration, the city organization, if you will, the city of Lufkin really loves the zoo. They think it's a very important part of who they are. The community is very supportive of the zoo, and to me, it's obvious that it's a very important part of the community's culture and quality of life. And then we also have the Friends of the Ellen Trout Zoo, which is our nonprofit support organization, who are very interested in moving the zoo forward. Everything I've experienced so far has been very positive, and that combination is one that bodes well for the future and the success of the zoo moving forward. So I'm very excited about it. Where we go from here is something that a lot of folks have asked me. What is my vision for the zoo? What do you want the zoo to do with the zoo? Where are we going? And that's not something I can just answer myself. So I worked with the Friends of the Ellen Trout Zoo and the staff and some of the city stakeholders, and we started working with a company called Canopy Strategic Partners. And over the last 9 months, we worked on a strategic plan for the zoo. So that will map out what we want to do over the next 5 years. I think that was a very important part of this next chapter of the zoo. And it's not just about myself. what I think the zoo should be, but the staff, the friends of the zoo, the city administration, city council, stakeholders in the community, community leaders were all involved in this process. So essentially what it did was identified what we do well, where we need to improve, and how do we get there. So over the next 5 years, we're gonna try to work on making the zoo a better place and finding out what our future is.
That's fantastic. Now you serve as a board of director.
I do. Yeah, I serve on the board for the Friends of Ellen Trout, and we were so excited to get Ryan here when Ryan came.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of the really great stuff that you're seeing right now, and we'll kind of get into that. Tell us, is because of Ryan. We've been very fortunate as a board to just be able to say yes to a lot of really great ideas. So tell us about that. What's new?
So we got some interesting things in the short term. So
Okay.
right now we're in the final stages of African primate exhibit. If you've been to the zoo, you will notice that some of the primates are in sort of older, outdated sort of facilities. So we're going to move them into new, modern, and exciting facilities. There'll be a much more appealing for zoo guests and much better for the animals themselves. Their
Good.
welfare will improve, a lot more space, a lot more complexity. So we're getting close to finishing that up. So we expect that in the next month or so, month and a half. We have an anacondas exhibit that's been renovated that's going to be open probably around the same time. So our giant snakes will be back on exhibit, and I've seen
Annalie will be thrilled.
seen
Me not so much.
if you haven't been to the zoo and haven't seen one of these anacondas, you need to come because they are gigantic.
Yeah, they'll freak you out.
They they will freak you out. If you've not seen one, you certainly will be freaked out by it. Let's see, what else we got going on? We're just now getting quotes on an outdoor facility for our Komodo dragons.
Oh, nice.
If you've been there, they're both relegated right now to indoor spaces.
Right.
So we've got an area adjacent to one of the exhibits. We're going to allow the Komodo dragons to go outside.
Wonderful.
We're
One of those spaces, not to interrupt you, was done through Leadership Lufkin years ago. That was their project. We used to do projects with Leadership Lufkin for many, many years, and they decided to do the Komodo dragon exhibit. So it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, and we hope to finish that sometime this summer.
Wonderful.
So we'll open the primate exhibit, the Komodo dragon exhibit, then the anaconda exhibit, and then the Komodo dragon exhibit in the summer. So we're trying to do something new every once in a while, or some improvements that we're hoping to keep this ball rolling.
That's great.
But one of the really exciting things that's happening right now is when I first started, one of the things that the Friends of the Zoo came to me and said, we'd like to support a project, a larger project for the zoo. So I kind of looked around what we had, and what we're talking with the staff. We kind of came up with this idea, and this is sort of a scoop for you guys here because we're about ready to start doing some press releases and some public comments and notifications about what we call what is going to be called Wilds of Africa. If you've been to the zoo, you know that when you go through Africa, you go up by the hippos and go around like a loop, you see the giraffes out in their exhibit, and then there's rhino exhibit as well. So in looking at it, we thought, it'd be a great idea to take the guests out into the giraffe exhibit. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a boardwalk that goes from the main pathway out into the giraffe exhibit, and there'll be a covered deck in the middle of the giraffe exhibit where guests will have the opportunity to feed a giraffe. So it'll be up close and personal.
Awesome.
Instead of at a distance of 50 or 100 yards, you'll be able to see a giraffe up close and possibly feed one.
That's great.
We're also then going to move the rhino from where he is to a space adjacent to the giraffe exhibit. And essentially, when you're out on this deck, you'll be in an elevated deck. You'll have giraffes in front of you and rhinos behind you and on the side of you. So you'll be surrounded by wildlife. There will also be an opportunity for some people to go down and do a meet and greet with the rhino. So we'll go down and be able to see Chitabe, our 5,000-pound rhino, up close and personal, give them a scratch behind the ears, take pictures, and learn a little bit about rhinos. That'll be part of it. I forgot one thing. As you're going across the boardwalk out into the giraffe exhibit, we're going to put Nile crocodiles in the canal. So you'll be seeing crocodiles from your boardwalk. I've been to over 120 zoos or so. I don't think I've ever seen an exhibit where you're on a boardwalk with crocodiles in the water below you. So that's going to be kind of neat.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a safari. On the boardwalk.
Hopefully,
Walking
yeah.
out into-
We're trying to
That
make
sounds beautiful.
a different experience,
Yeah.
a more modern, upgraded, enhanced experience for guests. And then even one more very exciting part about Wilds of Africa is that we're going to bring a new species in and put this species where the rhinos were, and that animal's called okapi. They're a very reclusive jungle sort of short giraffe, a very interesting creature. Not a lot of zoos have them, but we're already working on bringing one to the zoo, and that's going to be a very great experience for our guests when they come to the zoo. So
That sounds fantastic.
yeah, we're getting close. We're about done with construction drawings, and then we'll still go to bid. And I can't tell you exactly when we're going to open, but as soon as I know, we'll let everybody else know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Tell us a little bit about the zoo. Doesn't get enough credit for some of the work that it does with the Louisiana pine snakes.
Oh, sure.
It's a really cool program that's in the zoo that not a lot of people know about. There's quite a few of those little guys and gals in the zoo.
One of the things that, and I sort of mentioned this when we first started the discussion, was that many of us who work in this profession do it because of our love of wildlife, love of the outdoors, and wild places and wild animals. And we do this because we want to help preserve and protect wild places and wild spaces, and wild animals in those spaces. And one of the things that the zoo does is there's a creature called the Louisiana pine snake that once, I believe, was considered extinct in the wild. And we have an off-site breeding facility for Louisiana pine snakes. And we're one of only 4 zoos in the country that have these breeding centers for Louisiana pine snakes. And I think today, it may change from day to day, but we have about 184 Louisiana pine snakes in this facility. It's not something that the public can see because it's even when I go in there, they dress me up, make sure I don't bring any germs or anything. And it's almost like because they're so critically endangered, we want to make sure that they're protected. And so we have a breeding and facility there just near the zoo grounds. And our zoo plus the Audubon Zoo in New Orleans, the Memphis Zoo, and the Fort Worth Zoo are the only 4 zoos in the country that take part in this program. And then with the help of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and officials from the state of Louisiana, we take some of the animals that we've raised and release them back into the wild. And right now they're being released into, I'm going to forget the name of the park, but it's in Louisiana. So all 4 of the zoos meet there with these officials and release Louisiana pine snakes back into the wild.
I did not want to be in the forest that day.
It's a lot of
They're
snakes.
very cool. They only eat little furry creatures, so they're okay. Yeah. So that's
I
a
think
real
that's so
feather in
special,
our
though,
cap.
that Lufkin is a part of that.
Yeah,
And we've done that for years.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a real feather in our cap. I know that the staff that work with those animals are very proud of what they do.
Sure.
And it's their passion and their job purpose. They love it. We have 2 guys. That's all they do. That's all they do is take care of 184 snakes every day. So it takes a while.
Wow.
Needy little creatures. And there's one on exhibit as well.
Yep,
Yep.
there's one on
You go and
exhibit
see
of
the critically endangered Louisiana pine snakes that are
Yep.
very plentiful, not in that room, but
Yeah.
in the other room. So a cool thing to check out if you've never seen it. Cool story.
And we also have other programs that we're hoping to focus on in the future. Some
That's great.
programs with crocodilians, Malayan tapirs, cotton-top tamarins, species that we're going to focus on for some of these critically endangered species.
That's great. And you have a brand new exhibit for the eagle. Is that what I remember?
The eagle exhibit, yeah, I wasn't here, but apparently there was a storm of some type. I don't know whether it was a hurricane or what. Beryl was it? Was that the name of the?
Yeah, a little bit of spin off from the hurricane that we got. Knocked some trees down into the eagle exhibit.
So yeah, one of the trees they fell down. I saw a couple pictures, and so it had to be rebuilt. So that exhibit is has been finished, and the eagles are back on exhibit, and it's brand new. It looks great. The eagles are enjoying their new home.
That's great.
If you haven't seen that exhibit, go check it out. I love the way that it is now, because one of the eagles enjoys running around on the ground and has way more square footage to run around, and it's very fun to watch. Especially around the time that they get fed. That one loves to. I can't remember her name, but she.
Yeah, I don't know. You can tell them apart because the female's bigger than the male.
Much bigger. I'm sorry, it's the male. The male that likes to run around.
Younger guy. He's a little more. He gets a little more excited about whatever he gets excited.
He does. It's so
She's
fun
pretty stoic, and he's always got something to say. So
That's funny. So tell me, what is your favorite? I guess what's your funniest zoo experience, and what's your favorite zoo memory? Doesn't have to be here.
Okay.
It can be anywhere.
Okay, so my favorite zoo memory. It's a long story, but I'll make it short. So at the zoo I worked at, we had worked with the Dallas Zoo and the Omaha Zoo. We just had finished, been working on a brand new elephant exhibit. Our elephant exhibit was kind of old and outdated, so we had to build a new exhibit. And we worked at the Omaha Zoo and the Dallas Zoo to bring 17 elephants on an airplane from Africa. They were animals that were going to be culled in the wild, so what we did was help save and protect those animals. And they flew in a 747 all the way to, they landed in Dallas, and they unloaded some from Dallas, and then they flew from Dallas to Wichita, where this place was, and then where I was working, and we unloaded 6 elephants there, and then they flew to Omaha and loaded elephants there. So we brought elephants all the way from Africa and brought them into this brand new home, and to see the elephants out there was just a magical experience for me personally.
Sure.
And they that exhibit won some national awards because it was so unique and nothing like anyone had ever seen before. That's how special it was. And since then, there have been, I think, four calves born. After I left to come here, they had 4 calves born. So that's a very special experience in my career.
I love our zoo. I mean, it's such a cool.
It's a jewel.
A cool place. I grew up in the zoo. My earliest birthday party I remember having was at the Ellen Trout Zoo. And so as I started to get more involved in the community, I did Leading Itch. Shout out to the Chamber, which is a board governance training program you can go through here. And when we go through there, asked like, what would be your dream board to serve on? I was like, Ellen Trout Zoo. I was like, I want to be on the zoo board. And that program did lead to me getting on this board. And I like being on it for things like that, those stories like that, because I have 2 young children. My daughter, Emma, is 9 at the time of recording this and absolutely loves the zoo. And when I can come home with the fact that they don't know, it blows her mind. And I normally light up in our board meetings when I hear something like that. In fact, we had just brought on some new board members recently, and we did a tour of the zoo. And we just got a new tiger. And our tiger has an interesting fact about it you may want to share. And as soon as he said it, I was like, I almost said, like, I got to go right now. I got to go tell Emma about the tiger. Share this. There's an interesting fact about our tiger.
It turns out that the tiger that we have is allergic to humans.
No way.
Yes.
He takes about 20 pills a day of something. I don't know. I'd have to ask a veterinarian. But human dander apparently is something that he's allergic to. So he was like, before he came here, they had found, he had some alopecia. Fur coming out in a few places. When they did some testing, they discovered that it's human dander. So the keepers have to be very careful around him. They wear gloves and masks or something like that. It's just to keep stuff off of him. Now we still do training with them. With this tiger, he can do all kinds of different behaviors to help us take care of him. But they're careful about getting human dander on him. Because,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's an interesting zoo story. I got a lot of them.
I love that.
Maybe you can tell your daughter is one time, because back in the day we used to work with the elephants very closely. and I was cleaning an elephant's foot, like you clean an elephant, a horse's hoof or something like that. And I was standing behind the elephant. All these people were standing in front of me, standing there watching me do what I do. And the elephant decided to relieve herself and landed right on top of my head.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that was hilarious.
I know what's coming.
I'm just glad there were no cell phones at that time.
Oh.
Yeah.
But there are worse things than that. So, but yeah, that's one of many stories that I could produce.
I love that. Well, we're so thrilled that you're here and leading the charge of the zoo, and that you've got a good vision for what we can do to continue to grow and prosper our zoo. So what is, in 5 to 10 years, what would you love to see happen?
Well, that's another question that is answered by, I have some thoughts about where the zoo should go and what we should do, but that's going to be a collaborative effort as well. Hopefully, we're through sometime late summer, early fall, we're going to start a process that we're right now calling Renew the Zoo concept. So what we want to do is take a look at the zoo campus and sort of evaluate the physical nature of the zoo. The strategic plan revolved around revenue and culture and conservation and some other things. This is going to be focusing more about the physical nature of the zoo. The zoo has a great foundation. And there's a lot of, as I said, there's a lot of potential there. But some of our facilities are aging. They're aging out. So what we need to do is look at how we need to change that to make it modern. Some examples that I'm sure are going to make it into the plan are we need to enhance guest experience. One of the ways to do that is to provide an enhanced level of food service, like we may do a cafe or a restaurant somewhere in the zoo. Enhanced gift shop opportunities, make it a little more modern. We want to try to, so there's that. Then the other part of that is, so we want to look at how we can have the greatest impact with what kind of animals that we're going to bring to the zoo in the future, what we can do, what we physically can do. With if somebody said, well, can you have polar bears? We would say, well, I doubt that, because, we live in a climate that doesn't really, isn't amenable to a polar bear, because they need you could dome the whole zoo in and make it 30 degrees all the time, and that would work. But of course, that's incredibly
not feasible.
Not feasible. So we have to look at, from a climate perspective, what we can do. And we're going to, I'd hesitate to say we're going to do this animal, animal, because that's something we need to work through. But we're hoping to bring more and a diverse group of species to the zoo. And make it a little more modern, I guess. Provide modern facilities. Look at the more modern design for the animals themselves to make sure that their well-being and their needs are met, as well as the guest experience that goes along with it. So we want to modernize. We want to diversify, and I guess because our campus is the size that it is, what I tell the staff is, we can do things as well as any other zoo in the country. We just have to decide whether we want to do 30 things sort of mediocre or 10 things really, really well.
Sure.
So we've decided that we want to do, what we do is going to be really exciting, and we're going to do it really well. It just won't be 100 different things. Yeah. So we're going to make it a high-quality experience with great animal care, and we have to discover what that is. So that Renew the Zoo concept will come later this fall.
That's great.
And that will sort of identify where the zoo will go in like 7 to 10 years.
Sure. Well, that's great.
Well, thank you so much for coming. We're so happy to have you here on the podcast and at our zoo. Where can people learn more about the zoo if they've never attended, if they've never been, and the listenership for this is a little wider than Lufkin a lot of the times, and where can they find information about the zoo?
Ure. Well, one way is to go to the zoo's website. It's www.ellentroutzoo.com. You can go there. There's all kinds of information about who we are and how to get here and what it costs to get in. We also have a Facebook page and Instagram. Those are great ways to find out what's going on at the zoo. We have a membership program that if you become a member of the zoo, you also get a zoo magazine 4 times a year, which outlines what's going on at the zoo at that moment. And then you're also, if you're a member, get reduced price into the zoo, a reduced cost at the zoo and the gift shop and the concession stand, and a reduced admission. I think it's free admission actually to Zubu every year. So there's great benefits to being a member. So those are the places that I would say go to first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Hey,
and
thank you.
Sharing some great stories. I've got new ammo to go
That's
home
right.
and tell Emma about.
Have
and,
new stories to tell.
Yeah, new stories to tell. And,
Anytime.
glad we could share the story of the zoo with our listeners.
So yeah, keep an eye out. We'll open that primate exhibit pretty soon, and we're going to try to. Well, lastly, I think I'd say is that maybe this is another way to talk about that concept. Is that every year we plan to be opening something, planning something, and building something. Now, what those things are may differ every year, but we're going to keep going. We're moving, and you're not going to recognize the zoo in 5 years. So
We look forward to seeing it.
yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening again this week. We appreciate your support. If you'll do us a favor and share this episode, this is a fun one to share with people who may not know these facts about the zoo. You might have a little ammo of interesting stories to share with them. So share that with somebody wherever you're listening or watching. If you're watching the video version on the Chamber Facebook page or on the Chamber YouTube. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.